Good morning, everybody. Sorry I'm a bit late. I said I would never apologise again because I'm always late. Never mind. Sorry I'm late. Not that late. This is my last devotional in Acts. Possibly my last live devotional. I don't know if we're doing another book after this. I don't think we are. So this could be my last live devotional with you all. Don't know how you feel about that. So today we are reading from Acts 27, verse 27 to 44. It's a fairly long chunk, but it's quite an exciting chunk, so hopefully you won't drift off. So stay with me. Acts 27, starting at verse 27, all the way to verse 44. On the 14th night, we were still being driven across the Adriatic Sea, when about midnight the sailors sensed they were approaching land. They took soundings and found that the water was 120 feet deep. A short time later they took soundings again and found it was 90 feet deep. Fearing that they would be dashed against the rocks, they dropped 4 anchors from the stern and prayed for daylight. In an attempt to escape from the ship, the sailors let the lifeboat down into the sea, pretending they were going to lower some anchors from the bow. Then Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, "Unless these men stay with the ship, you cannot be saved." So the soldiers cut the ropes and held the lifeboats and let it drift away. Just before dawn, Paul urged them all to eat. "For the last 14 days, he said, you have been in constant suspense and have gone without food. You haven't eaten anything. Now I urge you to take some food. You need it to survive. Not one of you will lose a single hair from his head." After he said this, he took some bread and gave thanks to God in front of them all. Then he broke it and began to eat. They were all encouraged and ate some food themselves. Altogether there were 276 of us on board. When they had eaten as much as they wanted, they lightened the ship by throwing the grain into the sea. When daylight came, they did not recognize the land, but they saw a bay with a sandy beach, where they decided to run the ship aground if they could. Cutting loose the anchors, they left them in the sea, and at the same time untied the ropes that held the rudders. Then they hoisted the foresail to the wind and made for the beach. But the ship struck a sandbar and ran aground. The bow stuck fast and would not move, and the stern was broken to pieces by the pounding of the surf. The soldiers planned to kill the prisoners to prevent any of them from swimming away and escaping, but the centurion wanted to spare Paul's life and kept them from carrying out their plan. He ordered those who could swim to jump overboard first and get to land. The rest were to get there on planks or on other pieces of the ship. In this way, everyone reached land safely. Quite exciting, isn't it? Oh, low battery. Hope that hasn't paused the video for you. Sorry if it did. Hopefully it didn't, because you would have missed all the story. Oh, low battery, 10%. We've got 10% battery, everyone. Got to get through it. The shipwreck. That's how it's headed in my Bible. Quite a lot of verses, lots of sailing and nautical terms that don't really mean anything to me. But there's some really good principles in here. I want you to imagine, for the sake of this morning, that the ship is the church and that the sea is the world. You know, we are a ship at sea in a rough world. The church is being buffeted, it's being rocked from side to side, waves are hitting it, the sea is not as deep as it should be. I don't know all the nautical things. There are sandbars that we can run aground on. And the boat is church, and that's where we are on the boat. And the first thing that happens when the boat in the story, when they start noticing that they might be near land, that they might be able to see a way out, they think, okay, we're going to lower the lifeboats and we're going to try and escape from this bad thing. And I think quite often that's what we try to do. We think, oh, life is too hard at the moment. This thing has happened and I can't cope with being in church when this has happened. You see it all the time, don't you? When someone is bereaved, when someone is experiencing drug addiction or some other kind of habitual sin that's kind of taken over their life, they want to get out of the boat. They want to get out of church. They feel like staying in church is just making it worse, and it's certainly not helping. So they try and get out of the boat. They drop the lifeboat and off they try to sail. And Paul says, you cannot be saved if you try and get out of the boat. Certainly the people who are still on the boat can't be saved. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is, when we go through bad stuff, like really bad stuff, I'm not pretending I'm not pretending that life is easy. There is some bad stuff that's going to happen. There is bad stuff that you're going to live through, and you're going to want to run away. You're going to want to hide on your own. You're going to want to get in the lifeboat and sail off on your own little trajectory, and just leave everyone else behind because you can't cope with everyone else. But Paul says, and God says, that we need to be on the ship to be saved. We need to be in the church to be saved. Salvation comes from God, not from the lifeboat, not from sailing off on your own. And you know what? If you stay on the boat, if you stay in the church, then you might be the person who saves the next person who goes through that storm, the next person who's struggling with bereavement, with drug addiction, with whatever it is that you're living through. Then you move on a little bit further, and the boat runs aground. And at this point, I skipped a bit. Before it runs aground, they eat food. I love food. Big fan of food. If you know me, you know that. Really big fan of food. And they haven't eaten for 14 days. That's an awful long time not to eat. But when you're in the middle of a storm, often you don't eat. You see it in hospitals, don't you? When someone is dying and really, really sick and the relative is sitting next to them, often they forget to go and get a coffee. They forget to go and grab a sandwich because they just want to sit with that person. And sometimes, in all seriousness, you need food, you need physical nourishment, and that coffee might just see you through the next few hours sitting with your relative in hospital. But on a deeper level, we need to eat spiritual food. If you're on the boat, if you're in the church, that's where you get your spiritual food. If the sailors had got in the lifeboat, there wouldn't have been any food in the lifeboat. If you leave the church, there's no spiritual food for you out there on your own. You need to be part of the fellowship. You need to be eating the spiritual food. That is what is going to save you. Moving on now to running aground on the sandbar. It's at this point that Paul's like, okay, we've hit the ground. We can see the land. This is when we all get off the boat. This is when we do it, and we do it together. And they make sure that if you're strong, you go first. And then if you're weak, let us help you. Let the church help you. Have a plank. Have a broken bit of boat over here. Let the church help you to shore. And then that very last verse, it's like a sigh of relief from Paul. It says, in this way, everyone reached land safely. And that's what we want, isn't it? We want everyone in our church. And I don't just mean Bethel, I mean in the global church. We want everyone to reach land safely. We want everyone to be able to pass through the storm and find themselves on the dry land with God. That's what we want. So we need to work together. We don't need to be jumping in our own lifeboats. We don't need to be starving ourselves and being silly. We need to be working together as a crewmate, as a shipmate, doing all the raising of the anchors and the cuttings of the rope and the right sail that blows you in the right direction. We need to be doing all of that so that we can all reach land safely.